Hello, I'm Mrs. Spindler, the band teacher at Wilmot School, and I will be reading chapters 35 through 39. We'll begin with chapter 35, which is in the perspective of Aurora. The glue. Mom, Pop, Gracia, and Cedar finally walked through the front door at Mountain View School. I slither off my orange chair to the floor and then bounce to my feet. I peel around the glass partition and fall against them all. We hug. Oh my gosh, we hug. It's not that perfectly happy sort of hugging. It's more like time to glue ourselves together. We are all going to find Frenchie. I see how much Gracia needs him back. She presses her palms together and takes shivery breaths. There is a little crying, but no apologizing. No time for that. The town is taking over the search for Frenchie. They are setting up headquarters down at the fire and rec center. We need to be there. I run for the van shouting, "I'll take the way back seat." I keep watching out the window all the way down Burt Gray Road. I'm looking for Frenchie, hoping to spot him, waiting in a yard or a field. The words sit ready on the tip of my tongue. I want to say them so much. There! He's there! But I don't get to. We drop Gracia at her house. I watch her on the step. She's hunched, like she is folding up with worry. But she straightens and flings the door open and slips inside quickly. She's going ahead of us to the fire and rec center. No point in her waiting for 4 Petroquins to get organized. Mom has to change her clothes. We'll need our boots and water bottles. We are about to start the most important hike of our lives. Let's hurry, I say. I rock in the seat, even though home is only yards away now. Cedar rocks, too. Mom and Pop are talking. We'll need the carrier for Cedar, or we'll be no help at all, Mom says. The carrier, diapers, and the vests, Pop says sharply. That's tomorrow, Mom says. Archery season opens tomorrow. Designated areas only. Oh, right, I think. Orange days, hunting season. Every year, Mom blocks the days onto our family calendar with a neon orange marker. Early September to mid-December. Those are the days we wear bright orange safety vests for hiking anywhere or even filling our own bird feeder or raking leaves in our yard. Take no chances, Pop says. Before Pop speaks again, Mom says, vests. Yes, of course. I wonder how they're going to organize this search. It's the last thing Pop says before we hop out of the car at home. This search. The words sound awful to me. My guts are yuck. I want to find Frenchie so much. I guess they'll start near the school since he was there this morning. I say it mostly to myself. I feel a little pull inside me to go back there and look. But the place I picture him in my mind is up at the Blueberry Barrens, Sundrop Meadow, our big backyard. Maybe it's just because we go there so much. But what if it's a hunch? I am in my boots and ready, but Mom and Pop are still putting Cedar on the potty and finding bug repellent and filling water bottles. Hey, please, can I go up to Sundrop Meadow and cross over to Anzie's? Right now? Mom breathes out. She's exasperated. I want to look there first. We can drive up. It would be good to let Anzie know. Spread the word that Frenchie is... No, I mean I want to hike up. I want to look for Frenchie. He could be up there bird watching in the woods beside the meadow. Or maybe even picking, although I know the crop is pretty spent for the year. He knows the way, I say. Those words puff me up. Frenchie in the present tense. Frenchie now, because he is now. I'm sure he is. Aurora, he knows the way when he starts from home, Mom says. She has her doubtful face on. But he didn't start from home today. Mom, I know. I still want to look there. Please, I say. Pop hears me. He follows Cedar out of the bathroom. He has fresh diapers for the day tucked under his elbow. So you drive it. I'll hike it. Meet me in her driveway. I can't wait anymore. I can't. My parents look at each other. No harm, says Pop. We'll meet up at Anzie's. He puts a finger up. No meandering, Aurora. That's all I need to hear. I'm out the door. Forget hiking. I'm running. A dozen sprint steps, and suddenly I hear Pop hollering my name. Aurora! You forgot! I turn and see him jogging toward me. He's flapping an orange vest at me. Sorry, Pop. Sorry. He wraps me into the vest and hugs me hard. I hug him back. See you up the hill, my girl. Love you. Love you, Pop. Next chapter, from Aurora's perspective. My quick stop in the Barrens. I hike faster than normal today on my way to Sundrop Meadow. I talk the same way I always do, even though I'm alone. Usually, I have Frenchie walking beside me, never answering, of course, but his pants always swish together, and I know all the different ways he breathes and what his burps sound like. There's that whisper of breath he takes in before he tweets like he does. Today, there's a whole lot of silence coming back at me. It's different than not hearing answers from my friend, my person, the person who chose me to be his person. It's bigger. I hold the bottom hem of the orange vest as I go. If only Frenchie was wearing one, he'd be easier to spot. At the top of the meadow, I turn in a slow circle, and looking hard and fast as I can, I think about the math of it, and I tell myself he'll be along this radius or this next one. But as I come around, I haven't spotted him. So I go round again. I look west toward Ansie's farm, south toward home. Then I head into the east woods, but I'm not going to be a dope about this. I won't go deep. I have not forgotten that I was a little bit lost there a few weeks ago, following the piebald deer. I've still got scars from crashing through the pucka brush to get to Cedar that day. That would be a bad thing to repeat. And besides, if I get lost, well, I'm one less person to go searching for Frenchie. That makes me stop still. Frenchie, I call out. Frenchie, can you hear me? Give me a tweet or come on out. I wait. Nothing. If you're hiding, stop it. If you're crouching, quit it. Stand up, now. First I'm mad. Then I'm brilliant. Hey, want to go to Ansie's and read the poem off the barn? You know the one. At the top of my lungs, I holler, sun, rain, wind swept, bud, blossom, berry. Sweet earth, roots kept. I stop to take a breath. It doesn't seem right to go on and holler out the next part. Make a soul merry. There's nothing merry about this. I tilt my head back and push my shoulders forward. I call, Frenchie! I'll read you the rest, but you have to come with me. I wait. I breathe again and again. He doesn't come. I can't stay any longer. Mom and Pop will worry. They could be at Ansie's by now. I jam my hands into the pocket of my shorts and wrap my fingers around my geode for a second. Come on, Frenchie, I whisper. I scan the woods one more time, and then I sprint toward Ansie's farm. Next chapter, Encountering Carney, from the perspective of Aurora. I'm in through the gate, breathing hard, when I see Carney Huggins. He's got the same rocks by his feet, nothing special, I'm pretty sure, and a shovel in his hands. He's plugging up a gopher hole. He stops digging and squints at me. Hey, I say as I get near, but I try not to slow down. Weird seeing me here this time of day, isn't it? He pulls his chin under. Looks like he is thinking that over. Yeah, I guess it is. Well, it's due to something bad, I tell him. He's gone missing, in case you haven't heard. I'm still on the move, trying to sweep on by. I do not have time to chat with Carney. Wait, say again, he says. Now I do have to stop. Frenchie Livernois, he says. You know him. Comes up here with me all this time. Carney raises one arm and reaches to scratch under the back of his hat. He's got a long purple stain running from his wrist to his bony elbow. Now that I'm standing still and kind of close to him, I'm pretty sure he smells like blueberry pie. Maybe that's what he and Ansie eat for breakfast, pie. Or maybe his clothes fill up with the smell of them when he's driving deliveries. Seems like he left the schoolyard early this morning, I say, first thing. Now Carney tilts his head. Looks like he has a question, but he's not getting around to asking it. There's going to be a search. We'll use all the help we can get, I say. Oh, I might, Yeah, I interrupt. If you can't search, then spread the word. Tell 3 people and ask them to tell 3 more. Get the math? I think you kind of like him. Not me, but him, and that's okay. A lot of people think I'm too much. So wait, there's a search, you say? Yep, I point toward the farmhouse. My parents are letting Anzie know. I'm here to meet them, and we're going down to the fire and rec center to get our assignment. Now, I finish up loud, hoping he'll get the point. I've got to go. Aurora! What? I turn, but I keep trotting backwards. Carney Huggins has his hands cupped around his mouth like he's going to yell something at me. Sheesh, Carney, and you think I drive you nuts? Think it's easy running backwards? Think I'm not worried about my friend? What school, he calls. Where did he leave from? The elementary. Where's that? Up Burt Gray Road, I scream back. Under my breath, I say, how can you live here and not know that? Next chapter, Maxine and Dudley at the hospital. From the perspective of Maxine Grindal. Maxine Grindal sat in a chair in the exam room at the walk-in clinic. Best not to wait up on that high table lest she get woozy again and tip over. Dudley might not be quick enough to catch her. A nurse firmly instructed Maxine to hold her hand high above her heart and to apply pressure on the end of that ring finger, which had bled through a wad of paper towels and was throbbing. It had been over an hour since Dudley had packed Maxine, half passed out, into the passenger side of Mrs. Thrift camper van. It made sense to drive the van to the clinic. It had a new fan belt and was running like a dream. Where is that doctor? Maxine's patience was eroding. Finally, a woman who was much too young to be anybody's doctor arrived and snapped a pair of rubber gloves on. She took a good look under Maxine's clump of bloodied paper towels. There was good news. Maxine's topless ring finger would heal as long as she followed instructions to the letter. The doctor predicted that when all was said and done, the healed finger would look only a little bit misshapen, and only to someone who was really giving it a look. Don't care what it looks like, Maxine exclaimed. I need to be able to use the dying thing. I have work to do, and by the way, it hurts. The doctor gave Maxine 2 pills for the pain and then slipped out of the room. Again, Maxine and Dudley waited. It's a pity, Dudley said. He rested his hand gently on his wife's knee. I'll miss that little bit of your finger, Maxie. Well, when we get home, you can look for it. Find it. It's all yours, Maxine said. Dudley chuckled his best chuckle. The doctor swished in. Starting to feel better? She asked, her sweet young head tilted in sympathy. Seconds later, she poured a stinging fire of antiseptic on Maxine's wound. Maxine moaned and thunked her forehead on Dudley's shoulder. The doctor set to wrapping Maxine's finger in cloth, followed by several layers of snowy white gauze. Maxine watched as the doctor worked, going around and around the finger until, to Maxine's sleepy eyes, her finger had become triple thick. Maxine started to laugh. Look, Dudley, I've got a little finger puppet. She wiggled. It didn't hurt anymore. Maxine laughed harder. Don't be swinging it around now, Dudley warned. Maxine ignored him. I think I'll call her Miss Mummy. She made a finger bob and bow. Hello, do you like this show? No, she tilted her head back and cackled. A short time later, Maxine was half asleep on the bench outside the clinic with Miss Mummy resting in her lap. The September sun warmed her face. Dudley had gone to get the camper van from the parking lot. Maxine heard the engine rev up in the distance. The Mrs. Thrift mobile, she thought, and she smiled because that new fan belt sounded so right. Maxine waited. She observed a few cars out on Dixon Way, watched the garbage truck banging up over a Dental Associates building. Beep, beep, beep. It was a terrible noise, but everything seemed pleasant to Maxine. Soon she heard voices nearby, folks standing in the circle right beside her. Maxine narrowed her eyes. Were those uniforms? Looked like it. There's a missing boy, someone said. We're heading out to join now. The search underway. Maxine tried very hard to tune in. "Sixth grader," she heard. "So how old is that, 10 or 11? Maxine knew the answer. She tried to speak. She might have said 11, then "What père? What dis do?" Then she might have asked, "What happened?" The uniforms were not answering. Maxine listened harder. Poor kid. There's something about him. They say he doesn't talk. Wait. A thought bubbled up in her head. Didn't she know a boy who didn't talk? Maxine's eyebrows arched. Oh, but her lids felt heavy. And Lord, she was tired. The camper van rolled up to stop right in front of her, and there was Dudley, sweet old Dudley, helping her up and in. On the way home, Maxine wondered many things. Why didn't her finger hurt anymore? Why was her mind floating through with thoughts of that boy? Frenchie? Frenchie, whose mama had bought him the needlepoint purse. Maxine slowly remembered the day. Baker's Field, right off Route 1. Hotter than a tater tot, horrid with buzzing flies. Last July? Or the one before? Next chapter, Stuck in Traffic, on the perspective of Jewel Laramie. Jewel Laramie had everything she needed for her softball league's end-of-season picnic. She liked to wrap up with a decent celebration, and she always chose the first Friday in September. Fact was, Jewel found endings rather bittersweet. Best way to get through? Have a party! Tonight was the night. She was nearly back to town, having spent the morning packing her Jeep with paper plates, napkins, and red-checked tablecloths. She'd been to the Piccolonius Deli, league sponsor, where she'd fetched gallon-sized jugs of sweet relish, mustard, ketchup, and 3 huge jars of famous Piccolonius sour pickles. Lots of vinegar in the GP today, Jewel had joked with Sid and Berkeley from the deli, as they'd shouldered the jars and jugs to her car. Jewel had thought it all through, how to pack the back of her Jeep in a particular order. The boxes of softball mini trophies, which she'd purchased on her own dime, were already snugged up against her bow and quiver, which were mounted on the rack behind the Jeep's rear seat. Another end-of-summer ritual. The paper goods and condiments were nestled in next. The 2 coolers full of hot dogs, slaw, and potato salad, currently filling up Jewel's fridge, would fit in the center, and the 3 large bags of charcoal would go in last because she'd need them first. Yep, Jewel Laramie knew how to be efficient. It would have been nice if she could have trusted someone else to fire the grills, but Jewel believed that if she wanted this celebration done right, she had best do it herself. As she reached the center of town, traffic moved in that slow, parade-like way that was typical of Maine in summertime. Even post-Labor Day weekend, she muttered. Well, this is vacation land. Maine license plates had been embossed with this slogan since 1936. Fun fact, Jewel chuckled and waggled a finger in the air. She hovered her foot over her brake pedal, pressing down as needed. The traffic crept along in barely broken, bumper-to-bumper stretches in both directions. When Jewel reached the Fire and Rec Center, the 2 cars in front of her took right-hand turns into the lot. She gave the place a glance as she let her Jeep snail forward. Lots of activity. Honk, honk, honk. Jewel hit the brakes. Her blood rushed. An insistent old Chevy in the oncoming lane turned in front of her, and a second car tailed the first, as if hitched together. The driver waved to Jewel as if to say, "Yep, cutting you off, thanks." Jewel set her foot on the gas. She powered forward a few yards before another car could attempt to cut across. "Perfectly lawful on my part," she said. She shot a last look into the Fire and Rec parking lot. Maybe she could make a little stern eye contact with that pair of blockheads. Instead, she noted a whole lot of folks standing around outside the building. Jewel focused on the road home again, but she had a feeling now, and it nagged her. Something out of the ordinary was going on in her little part of vacation land. Oh, there! she recognized the Petroquin minivan coming toward her. Jewel lowered her window to flag them, thinking there'd be time for a neighborly ask, "Where the heck is everybody going?" As they got close, Jewel noticed that Renee was driving and that her eyes were fixed on the road ahead. Ed, too, was leaning forward in a purposeful way in the passenger seat, as if they needed to be somewhere. The van rolled on by. Jewel wondered if they had the kiddos with them. Neat family they were. Jewel often thought about the day they'd met. The Petroquins had turned down her offering, a beautiful venison tenderloin. They'd made it clear they didn't eat mammals and they didn't fancy hunting. Jewel chose not to be offended. However, she thought about Aurora all the dang time. Oh, how she had wanted that kiddo for her team. Still did. Great throwing arm. Not going to give up on that one, she said out loud. Jewel was sure that girl would mature into an excellent player. More raw talent in her pinky finger than I ever had in my whole body, she mused. Jewel grinned, remembering what the girl had told her back in March when Jewel had, for the third straight year, come recruiting at the Petroquins' place. "Trust me, Coach. You're better off without me." Aurora had flapped a hand. "I'll be scratching bug bites in your outfield and crawling out of your dugout, heading for the monkey bars between ups." Then she'd said, "Softball, ugh, too much standing around." Aurora had faked a loud yawn to drive her point. Hard for Jewel to keep a straight face. Aurora had lasted almost 4 games the one season she did play. Jewel still cracked up every time she remembered the last one. Aurora had managed to stuff several softballs into the deep pockets of her shorts. She'd waddled onto the field for the start of the 3rd inning, shorts sliding severely to the south. Jewel slapped a hand down on her steering wheel in the Jeep and sighed. Oh, what a kiddo. Once again, traffic slowed in front of her. She stepped on her brake pedal, stretched up, and glanced in her rear view. She spotted the back of the Petroquin van, turn signal flashing cherry bright. "By golly, they're heading to the Fire and Rec Center too," Jewel said. There happened to be a slim opening in the stream of oncoming vehicles. Jewel Laramie pulled a tight U-ey and joined the caravan. Thanks for letting me share your book with you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the story.